Good morning, everyone. This is Tall Paul, and it is 2:22 in the morning when I'm recording this. And I was asleep, and you've seen me have to do this before, where the angels wake me up in the middle of the morning. And anyway, today's topic is love. And is the answer to our virus problems love? Yes, I believe it is. So I'm going to go ahead now and do this so you can see me. Yes, it's 2:22 in the morning. When I was asleep, it was 2:02. And then I turned the computer on, and I've never done a live stream before. Hopefully this is working. I know it's not going to be live. It's live recording. I've never used this software. But it was 2:11 when the computer started, and now it's 2:22. So what are all these twos? 2:02, this is a decision gate. 2 on each side are the gates. The 0 is the decision point. And so we can make a decision or not make a decision. And then when I turned the computer on, it was 2:11. Again, 2 on one side, 2 on the other. That is the decision point. And then when I started the recording, the time was 2:22. So we have the gates on each side, and the 2 in the middle is here I am right now, decided to wake up, and I'm walking through the gates, and this is the portal. It's an energy portal. It's a portal that's where I'm deciding, and hopefully we are all deciding, to walk through the gates from our earthly reality where we're all worried about the virus, we're worried about finances, all kinds of stuff, and we're deciding to walk through the gates to be on earth as it is in heaven. And so, yes, it's true. Very many people are worried about viruses and finances. In fact, myself, my primary income is from a rental that I have, and I was just notified today that my renter is not going to be able to pay his rent. So I have to rely on the Lord's generosity and perhaps your generosity to help me through this time. I'm not going to worry about it, though, because the Lord has always provided. I've never had to worry financially. Everything that I've needed has been provided. Okay, so at this point, perhaps through this in our future recordings, the Lord's going to provide perhaps this way. I don't know. It's a mystery to me. I don't need to know. It's none of my business. The Lord will provide. That's the answer. Okay, so you have not heard from me in a long time. We were told years ago that all the information we need has already been given to us. We had teachers who guided us through to teach us the ways of life, the things that we needed to know to be successful. Years ago, if you remember, we had the movie The Secret, and The Secret talked about the law of attraction. Well, the law of attraction was great. The movie talked about money, and that was the big attraction. You can have money, you can have this, you can have that. And so that was kind of what I call the bait. And the bait told people about this law of attraction. I'm going to have a vision board. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And while the law of attraction definitely works, the problem is people were going about it the wrong way. So in your brain, you might think, I want a new car. I want to travel to Europe. I want to do this. I want to do that. But your soul, at the base level, your inner core, the fundamental thing that you truly want is love. It's having a connection to other people. And so what happened was, as people were using the law of attraction, they we had the crash in 2008, the financial crash, and it either saved your marriage or it ruined your marriage. And so as people are losing their money in their houses, the decision was, all right, and this is a subconscious thing, where we're given a reset point. And so, are we going to stay together in our marriage, in my relationship, or are we going to get a divorce? Are we going to live in a smaller house? Are we going to live in an apartment and not go out to eat? Or are we going to just get a divorce and start over? So that was 2008. Well, here we are in 2020, and we're at another reset point. Because you know what? The last one worked. For a lot of people, they decided to stay together. They decided to work from home and to sit down at the table and eat with the kids. And again, it was this opportunity to reset and to live and to be together. All right. And time went on. The reset happened. And the economy got better. People started to get new homes again. They started to be able to pay their bills. They started to actually accumulate wealth and to make money in the stock market. And their home prices doubled and everyone got jobs again. And everything was great. But what happened? People forget what life is all about. It's about connectedness. It's about love. And while we, in 2020, we're at the highest part financially in the stock markets, and the law of attraction still worked. But all of a sudden, what happened? We needed a wake-up call. And this virus came, the coronavirus, COVID-19. And literally the entire world has been shaken to its core to wake up and to reprioritize what's important. Is it money? And we had these wars, trade wars with China and all this stuff. And I think what the real message is that there are no borders. Look at the virus. It's traveled all over the world. Over 1 million people have been affected by it, infected. And every single person is now faced with a moral decision, a moral dilemma to resolve this issue. And there really is one thing that can solve it, and it is to love. You see, this message has always been the same for all eternity. Love is the answer. Now, what does this have to do with the virus? If we want this virus to have the most minimal impact, minimal devastation, if we truly love our family, we will stay home. We will follow the advice of all the experts, the medical experts. We will stay home, which again was the exact same reset we had in 2008. You stay home, you eat together, you play together, you talk to one another, you love one another. And when we do this, see, if we keep going out and we're breaking what the medical doctors are saying is to socially isolate ourselves from society so that we don't spread the virus. If we go out and then we come back home and we get grandma sick or someone else in our family whose system is compromised, then we're going to have more death. But if we choose to love, if we choose to be on earth as it is in heaven, see, in heaven there are no viruses. In heaven, everyone loves one another. In heaven, it is a state of being, and that being is love. Everything's provided for us in heaven. We don't need to worry about money. We don't need to worry about anything, okay? But right now, we're so worried. We have fear, And these things are taking us away from heaven. And so how many times have you prayed, Our Father who art in heaven, this prayer, but have we ever listened to what we're actually saying? We're saying that thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So why are we thinking somehow that it's going to be in the future, that heaven's out there, over there, somewhere else, but not here? We say the prayer without even listening to it. So, to be on earth as it is in heaven. So, let's live in heaven right now. Okay, how do we do that? We live in love. You've heard me talk about this. Okay, I used to think on one hand there's love, and over here there is forgiveness. And I completely realize now that they're not two separate things. Forgiveness is a dimension of love. You cannot love unless and until you forgive. So, how do we live on earth as it is in heaven? The reason we're not in heaven is that we're carrying so many past burdens, past hatred, past hurt, past suffering. And if we can let go and actually forgive the past, forgive those people that we have hurt, or that who have hurt us, but then again, we must offer a surrender flag to our enemies, and for the people that we've hurt, we must ask for forgiveness. And many times the people have died, or we no longer have connection to those person in real time, but in our heart, at our soul level, because we're all connected. We are all one. You can say this prayer with me. It's like, I am sorry. Please forgive me for everything that I've done. I wish for you and I to be in paradise together, to live on earth as it is in heaven, to live in love, to be together. And I ask for forgiveness, and I forgive you for everything that has happened. And so, as we say this, it's not words, it's a state of being. So love is not only an action verb, to love, it's also a state of being, to be in love. And they coexist. You be in the state of love, and you love, which requires action. And in the Bible, this is people who watch me are not only Christian, they're all faiths, but in the Bible it talks about when I was hungry, when I was thirsty, when I was sick in prison, you fed me, you gave me to drink, you visited me. And right now, we need to put our love into action by staying at home and being with the people that we live with, so that we can get rid of the virus. The virus isn't going to go away, but that belt, that curve that they talk about, the apex, we need to flatten the curve. If we stay home, we listen to the medical experts, we're not going to go out there and be infected and then come back. Or if we are already infected, we're not going to go out and infect other people. All right? So everyone, please listen to the experts. Please stay home. Please be on earth as it is in heaven, by living in love, by forgiving, and by truly living, so that we can be healthy and happy together. Okay? So look at this beard. My goodness. You haven't seen that, have you? For the last 3 months, for 3 months, beginning Christmas, today's the 20th of, or I'm sorry, the 4th of April, I'm sorry, the 3rd of April. So beginning Christmas for 3 months, I was on a pilgrimage, and I was traveling around the southwest of the United States, and I spent most of the time isolated in the desert. This is pre-virus awareness, and I was sent to different sacred sites, ancient Native American sites that were these civilizations existed, and at the Native American sites, the people vanished. Okay, and what exists are the remnants of the ancient civilizations, but we have the memory of what can happen to a people who do not work together, who do not decide to love one another. Now, I'm not saying they didn't love one another, but what can happen is that civilizations disappear, and what's left are these beautiful energy places, vortexes. And when you go there, you can actually feel the ancient cultures are still there. And perhaps they ascended into a different dimension where they loved so much that rather than suffer together in an earthly way, that they chose to ascend and to walk into earth, on earth, or walk into heaven, but to be on earth as it is in heaven. You see, it's another dimension, and I believe they're still there. And so on this journey, I've traveled around. I've brought all of my spiritual journals, my angel downloads that I've been writing for years. I have not published them because I've been told not to publish them up until this point. Some of them I already have. They're on my website, meetyourangels.com. You'll see a lot of old writings and older videos. All of it is still pertinent, but you will start to see me publish more as I'm told to. So these journals have traveled all around these energy grids and important energy vortex locations. And the message that I've been told is that the messages have been blessed, and I'm now to return here and to start spreading those messages more. And the primary message is that we are all one being. So while we know about God, we have concept of God, and we are each born into our religious cultures, our religious beliefs. They are all true insofar as for our being and for our frame of reference, we need that frame of reference in order to work within the society that we're born into. Okay, so we are all one being. So we're taught in the Christian tradition that we're temples of the Holy Spirit. What this means is that God dwells within us, and every breath that you take and every breath that I take, God is still choosing us as his vessel to live. So if we recognize this in one another, not just as Christians, but for every single human being on the planet, if we recognize that God is choosing each one of these 7 billion people as his vessels to live, he breathes through each and every single person on this planet to be receptacles of his life, of his being, of his essence. Then we could treat each person as sacred, life as sacred, the animals, creation. Now, this is a Christian perspective, but every religion believes that we're connected to Source, we're connected to God, that God created us as an expression of himself. And the word him is just English language, and language limits us, because as soon as we speak something, it's cutting out space to kind of help people understand. But when we do that, it takes us away from the totality. Okay, so as I speak, I'm speaking from my frame of reference, which is Paul, in my envelope of Paul. Well, within my envelope of Paul, there are many systems. I have the respiratory system, a circulatory system, a nervous system, and then we've got cells, and within the cells we've got mitochondria and DNA and all these different things. We can keep going down. We have atoms, and within atoms we have electrons, protons, neutrons, and there's even go beyond that into quantum physics, which says that all that there is energy. Okay, but these are just perspectives. So if I go back to the atom, well, the atom, I can look at water, H2O, that has a specific characteristic, a certain energy to it, but we're really focusing too closely on something. If we step back in our vision and we say, okay, well, that's water, but then we say the body is composed, I don't know, what is it, 70% of the body is water or more? And the earth, how much of the earth is water? Well, we can keep going and going. Instead of looking at me as the envelope, let's go out in the other direction, and we can say, well, I live on the planet. The planet's part of the solar system. The solar system's part of a galaxy, etc. You go out, which is part of the totality of the universe. So we can focus our vision on the cell or on totality, which is God. There is nowhere that God isn't. God is everywhere. So as soon as we look at it from our perspective, my one perspective, I'm limiting the totality. The totality still exists, but we're limiting it. And so when we love, we exist in the totality, which is God. God's breathing through us. We're the temples of the Holy Spirit. We just need to know that. And as we do that, and we live in love, and we live as living receptacles of God on earth, then we can truly be on earth as it is in heaven. And this virus and all this other stuff that we worry about, the virus is part of all one being. The virus is not an enemy. The virus is challenging us to change our reality from what it was before, like, oh, everything's great with the economy and our jobs and money and all this, but all that jobs and money and all that stuff took us away from our family. So what we've done is we've had a reset, which is actually part of the law of attraction, which is when our soul says, I want connectedness. I want to have meaning in my life. And because we want that at the soul level, like all of us want that, we had to have a reset. And it was a collective reset where now the entire planet is reevaluating everything that we've done. And which is more important, to go out and visit our friends right now and perhaps get infected, or to remain home out of love for our friends, out of love for our family, so that we can tackle this problem and let the experts do their thing and go forward. Okay? So that's the message for today, and I hope to be on more often. I love all of you, and I really am encouraging you. I'm encouraging us to live in love, to forgive one another, to be on earth as it is in heaven. These are the messages from the angels. This is a eternal, everlasting message. It's never was not the message. Somehow in our human awareness we forget this, and we're being called back to love. We're calling back to paradise so that we can be together. All right. So if you visit my website at meetyourangels.com, you can go back and look at all the old articles and the videos, and I would love to work with you. I do angel readings, and I can help you as an angel coach and provide spiritual direction, so that if you're confused, if this is all new to you and you don't know what your next steps are, I can help you to learn to listen. We have our intuition. So I live in my heart space. I love my heart space. But once in a while, my head will speak up and say, Paul, that's not very logical. Or very, very rarely, my gut will speak up and say, Paul, now, come on, wake up. You can't do that. And I used to think these were just parts of myself. I now know and believe that this is where our angels speak to us. They speak to us in our heart. They speak to us in our brain. They speak to us in our gut. This is our intuition. And the reason why we think it's us is because the angels are so intimately entwined with us. They're so close to us. They're so loving us that we think it's us. In fact, this is the first inkling for you and all of us, is that we are all connected, is that when we truly recognize that that voice in our head actually sounds different than the voice in our heart, which sounds different than the voice in our gut. Well, these intuitions, even though they're so close to us, they feel different, they sound different, and they are our angels guiding us. And that's all part of the connectedness. That while I have cells, so let's say a cell in my toe, it's saying, hey brain, what are you doing up there? As if it's something different. But if I didn't have my brain and I didn't have the cell in my toe, part of me would be missing. Okay. So when God creates his universe, he created me, he created the cell in my toe, and you and everyone else here, we're all part of that all one being together. Okay. So when we have our intuition and our guides, we need to listen. That will help us to make the right decisions. And ultimately, the only decision is to love. But sometimes we need a little help to get to that point. How do we love? How do we forgive? And if you contact me, my email is paul@meetyourangels.com. Go ahead and email me and we can arrange to talk to one another and work together to help you to work out your issues and to live in love, to live on earth as it is in heaven. Okay? So I'm going to look at the clock. It's 2:50 a.m. I guess I can go back to bed. That'd be wonderful. But I'm obedient. Okay, so if you're asked to do something by your angels or by God, you need to do it. And right now, I believe we're all being asked to stay at home, to listen to the medical experts, and we do this out of love so that we don't have to suffer anymore. We don't need to be afraid. If you're at home, what are you afraid of the virus for? There's nothing to be afraid of. If you're already sick, don't worry about it. Take care of yourself. Or if someone's in your house that's sick, take care of them. And if for some reason we do die because of this, it's okay. It's part of the natural progression. It means that God's ready for us to go into a different dimension. Death is not the end of life. They say in the Catholic tradition, it says at the funerals, we say life has not ended, it has merely changed. Absolutely. We walk into the next dimension, which is heaven in a different way of living it. We're already in heaven. We just need to open our eyes to know that and to see it. And it's the fear that we're experiencing. Fear is taking us out of heaven. Lack of forgiveness is taking us out of heaven. Remember what the greatest commandment is? To love God. And the second commandment is like it, to love your neighbors as yourself. And then ultimately, we're told we are to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us. So if we can't love our enemies, I mean, it's easy to love your family in theory. So love your family. You have a good neighbor, it's easy to love your neighbor. But if you have an enemy or someone that's difficult to love, that's where we start. So go to your past, all those people that you've been carrying the heavy, heavy burdens. You've been carrying the pain of the past. Let's get over that, everyone. Let's heal it, okay? And let's ask one another for forgiveness so that we can truly just free ourselves from the chains that bind us. Doesn't that make sense? I hope so. So I'm going to go ahead and close now. I've said that before, but I am going to close and leave you with my wish that we have peace and love always. Okay? I love you.